for another episode of Rooster Rampage, the start of the 2022 college football prediction season. It's talking season, my friends, and after the 2021 Coastal Carolina football team and schedule last year, there's a lot of talking that needs to be done, including a first-time bowl win against Northern Illinois, practically because it was the MAC champions after that game. But anyway, they won the Cure Bowl. Disappointing finish in the Sun Belt East. Finished third behind App State and Georgia State, the two teams that did beat them. App State did take a last-second field goal to beat them, and Georgia State had a second-half comeback to come back and win that game. But a lot of exciting pieces are returning for Coastal, including quarterback Grayson McCall, head coach Jamie Chadwell, because there's always chatter about him leaving. So both of those are good things. But some key pieces are gone, especially Isaiah Likely. Javon Hiley's gone. All the defense. Name a defensive player for Coastal last year. They're gone. It's that bad. But with McCall coming back, there's always a possibility. And, it's still exciting around this time of year anyway, even if he wasn't. But when you got Grayson McCall, your best player still, and you got a good coach, there's always hope. So there's reason to be optimistic about 2022 for Coastal Carolina. Today, what we're going to do is we're just going to go through the schedule, and I'm going to call it how I see it. We'll start with the first game of the year. Coastal Carolina is going to take on Army at home, a 7:30 kick, 7 o'clock kick, September 3rd. Big game. It's exciting because it's going to be at home at Brooks Stadium. Army is their quarterback's gone, Christian Anderson, but their starter is going to be their leading rusher for 2020. It doesn't really matter who's playing quarterback for Army because you're going to get the same triple option attack, which is difficult to defend. Of course, everyone knows that. So Army can do. Like I said, it doesn't matter who's playing quarterback or who's playing for them. They're going to be difficult. With that being said, I really think Coastal Carolina is going to get this win against Army because, well, it's a home opener, and I'm a little biased here, but I do think Coastal will start the season strong. They're at home. I think that gives them the edge. Army's got to travel to Conway, hostile environment. So I think Coastal's going to get the job done, and McCall's going to kick off his Heisman campaign, the real McCall, with a good win over Army. Next is Gardner Webb. Gardner Webb's going to come in there Saturday, September 10th at 6 o'clock. Coastal's going to win. It's an FCS team. We'll just move on. Next, Buffalo. The Buffalo Bulls are coming into town. They're coming to Conway. Last year, Coastal played them on the road, and they did beat them. It was a struggle bus game, a win for Coastal, and Buffalo wasn't really any good, but they're showing no signs of getting better right now, really. They lost their quarterback. They lost their running back. And they couldn't beat Coastal last year at home. I see no reason why they're going to beat them in Conway this year. So Coastal's now 3-0. Next game is Georgia State. That's going to be the Sun Belt opener, and it is an away game. Coastal could not beat Georgia State last year. Georgia State does have to play South Carolina week 1, and so that's always tough when you play a big team like that. But at this point in the season, they'll be recovered from that. Sean Elliott is doing a tremendous job at Georgia State. I really don't see Coastal Carolina, especially with the defense. I just don't see it. Georgia State is always prepared. I think Georgia State's going to eke out a win here on the road. With Coastal on the road, I got Georgia State winning. Coastal is now 3-1. Then Coastal bounces back with a home game against Georgia Southern. Georgia Southern hired former USC head coach Clay Helton, which I think is a great hire, and I think it'll help them out. It's just going to take a couple years. Georgia Southern is in the dumps. They're not a good football team right now, and I really think Coastal's going to roll them, just like they did. Well, not really last year, but it was in a monsoon. But I think Coastal will win this game, go to 4-1. But I think Georgia Southern's a team to watch in the future. Next up, we get a game against Louisiana Monroe. This game is at Louisiana Monroe. Coastal Carolina did easily dispatch of Louisiana Monroe last year, blowout fashion. Louisiana Monroe is struggling. The Warhawks are not, they're not really good right now. They're in the same shape Georgia Southern is in, really. So I really see no reason why Coastal doesn't go on the road to Monroe, Louisiana, and roll the Warhawks. Coastal is now 5-1. Right after they play Louisiana Monroe, they're going to play Old Dominion homecoming. Old Dominion's brand new to the conference, to the Sun Belt. They're not very good. Coastal's going to roll this game, make that 6 wins for Coastal. They're going bowling. Next up, the Coastal Carolina is going to take on a newcomer to the Sun Belt, Marshall. The Marshall Thundering Herd. It's going to be at Marshall. Marshall was not that good last year, but they do return their star running back. It's on the road. Marshall is typically a good team. I don't think Doc Holliday's there anymore. I always liked his name, the old coach there. But, new conference, you'd think maybe Coastal beat them because of that, but it's on the road in Huntington, Virginia, West Virginia, that is. And that running back and everything, I don't know. I got to see Coastal play Marshall one time before I pick Coastal to beat Marshall. Marshall is just typically always one of the stronger group of 5 teams. And so I'm going to have Marshall. I got to have Marshall go over Coastal here. I don't want to say it, but I just think it will happen. So Coastal is now 5-2. Next up, a home game against their bitter rival, Appalachian State. This is going to be 7:30 on a Thursday. About the same time it happened last year, November 3rd is when it's scheduled for. App State is a very tough team in the Sun Belt, the toughest team besides maybe Louisiana, but they lost their coach Napier to Florida, so App State's always good. They reload. Chase Bryce, I believe, is back there. With all the defensive pieces that Coastal Carolina has lost this year, I really don't see them, even though it's at home and it's on a Thursday. I just got to go with App State here. I think App State's going to win the Sun Belt pretty handily, maybe by a whole game. That's going to drop Coastal to 5-3, unfortunately. Next up, Coastal's going to get a rebound game against Southern Mississippi, another newcomer to the conference. They struggled in Conference USA. They're going to struggle in the Sun Belt. It's just how I see it. I think the Sun Belt's a stronger league than Conference USA, which 2-3 years ago I would have called you crazy, but not anymore. And I really foresee Southern Miss struggling here too, just like Old Dominion. Coastal's going to win this game. That's going to be 7 wins for Coastal. Next game is a road game in Charlottesville, as Coastal Carolina's going to take on the Cavaliers of Virginia. I typically would pick Coastal in this situation because Virginia is not a very elite team. They're just not. I'm sorry if you're a fan of them, but they're not. Virginia Tech is usually better. Even though Virginia's been better in the last 5 years or so, they still do not. They still struggle against teams they shouldn't struggle against, and it's just a weird situation over there. They can put up a tough fight against some teams and then not the other. I would actually pick Coastal in this situation because I have very little faith in Virginia, but they are getting a new coach, Tony Elliott. Coastal, it's that defense. It's just the defense, and Brennan Armstrong is back, and that guy can sling the rock, as people say. He can throw the football. I do think Virginia will beat Coastal Carolina this season. Drop Coastal to, 7-4. The final game of the year is a tiff with former FCS team James Madison, who is coming up to the Sun Belt just like Southern Miss, Old Dominion, and Marshall. James Madison was elite at the FCS level, but this is a transition year. They're not used to playing FBS football, and they usually, I remember a couple years ago they played, I believe it was Virginia Tech, and they played NC State tough, but that's just one game a year, and that was at the start of the year. This is the 12th game of the year after playing a full slate of FBS teams. I just think James Madison's it's going to be a lot for them in 1 year, especially to, expect to beat Coastal. And Grace McCall is enough to make up the difference. The running backs Coastal's got, I think, and they have some wide receivers come back like Tyson Mobley, who's quick. I expect him to have a breakout season this year. But just briefly, so I do have Coastal win that game. 8-4 is the final record, going to a bowl game, not the Sun Belt Championship, of course, because I have 3 conference losses for them. But it's just going to be tough for the defense, replacing so many parts, and McCall coming back. That's the bright spot. So I think 8-4 is what I got Coastal Carolina finishing at. A good bowl game. I think they'll probably be favored whoever they play in the bowl game, because an 8-4 Sun Belt team normally draws a weaker team from either a Power 5 or an even Group of 5 team, and there's very few Group of 5 teams outside the Sun Belt I would take. Like Marshall, if they're coming to Conway, I'd pick Coastal. But so I think they're still a really tough team, and Georgia State the same way. I think they could still get them. I think App State is going to be the struggle game of the year, and Virginia. I think those are the 2 hard ones. I think James Madison could go another way. But I just want to bring up real quick, this is the first year in a long time that South Alabama is not going to be Coastal's opponent in the final week of the year, which is the rivalry week, which is okay because we didn't really have a rivalry with them, but we had a kind of tradition there playing them every year, and it was for bowl eligibility a lot of times. I know they beat us one time to become bowl eligible. We kept them from getting bowl eligible last year. They kept us from getting bowl eligible the year before that, or 2 years before that, because I think the COVID year was in there. But so that was kind of fun, and I wish that we could have kind of built on that a little bit longer, and I think it could have developed into something. But it is what it is. James Madison's in our division, the East, and not the West, like South Alabama. So that's going to be fun, I think, if that's what ends up happening. I'd like to see App State move to that week of the year, though. But anyway, that is all there is to the Coastal Carolina 2022 preview. If something else pops up, I will make another video, but that is how I see Coastal finishing 8-4. Y'all have a good rest of the talking season. I'll see you for regular season. I'm also going to make a South Carolina video, so be on the lookout for that. Y'all have a good day.